And now it's time for Photo Booth Live Chat with John Young.
Welcome to week 2 with PBNTV, Photo Booth News TV. Tonight, I have a good friend and a special guest. I've got Mike Walter with me tonight. Good evening, Mike.
How are you, John? Good evening.
I am doing well. Thanks for...
That was a very professional, enthusiastic intro. I like it. You're all fired up.
Well, maybe what we should do instead is we should, I've got the intro that says, hey, now it's time for John.
and then we should say our names again and not say our names again. I still haven't figured it out. Joe Bono, if you don't know what John is referencing, our PhDJ workshop or podcast that Joe and I have been doing for over 2 years now. Somebody threw a monkey wrench in recently and said we were being repetitive by repeating our names after the intro, which already said our names. So now Joe and I have no idea how to start. We're verklempt.
Kind of in a little quandary there, which is like,
exactly.
How is this supposed to go? Okay, I think we were having an issue with one of the little overlays that wasn't working.
Are we good? Are we live?
We are good. We've been live. We've been live. It's just I don't know if they were hearing another audio track. This is the problem when you have layer upon layer upon layer of scenes, and then you forget to delete which one. It's like, which layer is not working right?
Yeah, you've taken this to a crazy level with your live shows and your YouTube channels and everything else, John. You really you've mastered this. I think.
Yeah, well, maybe not mastered, but we make a lot of noise. And like tonight, gang, we are broadcasting out to 10 different locations. So you're joining us on Facebook, on YouTube. Any of the areas, you can make a comment on that, and then it will pop over here if you have questions or anything, because we're going to be focusing tonight on having a business, specifically in the wedding industry, that adds a photo booth company to that. And that's something that Mike did. Mike, how long ago did you guys add the photo booth to your...
I knew you were going to ask me that question. You told me that, and I'm going to guess that it's about 15 years ago. I specifically remember Think Tank. And I think it was Think Tank up in Boston. So that's probably 14 or 15 years ago. We brought in a photo booth company to kind of show us this new trend in something of an upgrade. And I think every think tanker at that symposium walked away saying, "Oh, that's exciting. That's cool." And we all tried to work it out. And at that point, it was all the hard-sided that you were basically going to need a box truck to rent out. So I think I waited a year or two. And then once the more, transportable versions came along, we definitely broke into it at that point. So it's probably been 15 years since I learned about the idea, and maybe 13 years ago that we added the division.
So you've had it for really since way before the bubble. And for those of you who've gone to Photo Booth Expo,
oh god, yeah.
I mean, Photo Booth Expo has only been around I think for 5 years. We're going to be doing the 5th year this year. So you've been ahead of that curve.
Yeah.
When you first jumped into what were some of the concerns as you looked at it for those first ones? You're like, okay, I need to be able to do this to make it successful, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, the first concern was the transportation because, like I said, none of my DJs have box trucks, and we didn't own one at the time. So getting something that you were going to need 2 people and you were going to need to transport it with a box truck was sort of impractical right off the bat. And that's why I did wait a while. And because I am also familiar with the fact that anytime technology breaks out, it's going to get easier and cheaper and more transportable if you wait a couple of years. So we did that. And once it became practical for regular staff to transport and set up, that's when we kind of entered it. So that was one of my concerns right off the bat. And then the initial investment was pretty steep early on compared to what it is nowadays. Mm-hmm. So obviously you do the math. I mean, what can you book it at? How many times do you need to book it before you can even make it make sense, even pay for itself? So it's not a loss. But one of the things Jeffrey Craig, right?
Oh, certainly.
Familiar with Jeffrey Craig? Jeff has the philosophy of book it and then worry about it. And we kind of took that same attitude. Like we booked it a bunch of times and we could have, leased it out or rented it out from a company that had them, and where we would have made no money. But we waited till we had like 7 or 8 bookings for the future before we said, okay, now it definitely makes sense. Let's go ahead and purchase one.
So as you're going in initially, since you're pretty much at the cutting edge of it, pricing, how did you guys come up with to know where you would be
pricing,
with it?
It's so funny. It's one of those things where pricing has just been driven down now by competition. But I'm not going to say that we were the first ones in our market to offer this, but we were one of the first. So we really just kind of looked at the trend, and at the time it was, I think, about 14 or 1500 to add a photo booth for 4 hours. And so we just set that price, and we were getting it for a good couple of years. And now, unfortunately, because of everyone's got one and the prices, I quoted somebody $895 today for a photo booth, and she said, that's the most expensive I've heard for any photo booth. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know where she had shopped around and what other places she had spoken to, but that's where the price is going right now.
So early on, you ran the numbers, made sense, booked a few shows. Staffing, how did you handle the staffing side of it?
So basically, right off the bat, we started a different division, and that's something I've done with a lot of the upgrades that we've adapted into our company, where we just started a separate company, Elite Photo Booths.
Okay,
and they hired the staff, they trained the staff, they worried about that. So I basically just outsource. I mean, the client isn't aware of this, but internally we outsource. When Elite Entertainment books, we outsource to a separate company called Elite Photo Booth. So they kind of take care of the hiring and the training and the transportation.
Oh, so you have a manager in charge, so they can
exactly.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the things I talk about when I speak to multi-ops. That is a great idea for a way to empower key people in your organization. Instead of you doing everything yourself, which, let's face it, can also lead to burnout and you having too many things to worry about. If you're willing to give up a little bit of the profit and have somebody take care of that division, maybe even be an owner in that division, you can reward somebody and you can empower somebody. And that's what I've done with some key people in my organizations.
Nice. Very nice. Now you also have, you have an entertainment side that does the DJ work, and you have video and photography also?
Yeah, so we started a video division, Elite Films, and we started a photography division, Elite Digital Images. So these are just offshoots similar to Photo Booth. We got into that because it was an exciting thing, but also because some clients were asking for it.
Sure.
We opened a video division years ago because clients would book us for DJ and then say, well, what else do you offer? Do you offer any other services? Because they love their reputation. They love dealing with us. And let's face it, some clients just like the ease of one-stop shopping, if you will. So we started the video division, and when that was successful, we started a photography division, and they've been very successful. Obviously, the entertainment company is still the big reputation. We get the most referrals in the market, but those other divisions are doing very well for themselves.
Very nice. And again, all under the same roof, so you can have that team communication and
exactly.
passing.
Yeah, and that's one of the selling points. I mean, I just did a wedding last night with our photo booth and our photography, and there's just great synergy when you're working with people that you work with all the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned photography, and before we went on air, we were talking a little bit about early on and how people jumped into the photo booth industry, and you'd shared that you were kind of surprised that, especially at Photo Booth Expo, the early years, it seemed that there was almost as many DJs who were adding photo booth as there were photographers.
Yeah, it's, looking back on it, especially, I don't know if I thought about it in the moment at the time, but looking back on it, it really kind of surprised me that photographers didn't embrace photo booths the way we did. I mean, I think when DJs started hearing about this opportunity to upgrade, we all jumped in, or many of us jumped in, and almost every DJ company I know in my area has at least one photo booth or a bunch of them that they can offer. But photographers, I mean, in my market, I can think of 2 photographers who have added a photo booth, and they've only done it recently. It doesn't even go back for years. So, because at first blush, photo booths seem like they would be more of a natural fit for photography than they would be for entertainment. But I think what it came down to is we as DJs are used to transporting stuff. We're used to bringing a lot of gear with us. And so when we see something like uplighting, when that became a thing, we're like, yeah, we'll just add that on. We'll just buy it. We'll add it on. Photographers are used to being a lot more mobile. They come in with their camera bag and they roll in and I'm not downgrading that all, but
Right.
it's the way it is. They don't need to worry about a lot of staff. They don't need to worry about transporting a lot of gear there. And so I think that was probably what stopped most photographers from even thinking about it as a possible, revenue generator. They were just like, no, I don't want to transport all that stuff.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that the creative side was the angle I was thinking of, is that photographers really consider themselves artists of behind the camera. We as DJs, maybe not so much. We're more artistic behind the decks in essence with our music, and we're comfortable with gear. So it made sense that the photo booth would have been so exciting for us.
Yeah.
Where photographers are like, oh, there's no creativity in that until, although some of them have incredible sets that they are using with their photo booth and such. So that's really, really kind of cool.
Yeah, that could be an argument for it too. To me, the creative part of photo booths comes in with the props and the giveaways and stuff like that. That's where, when we don't use our photo booth division, and I have a photo booth on a job, which happens from time to time, I usually go over and peek at what they're offering. Some of them I'm blown away by. Some of the signs and the hats and the mustaches and the glasses. Some of them, got to be honest, are pretty lame. So I think that's where the creative part of the photo booth company really kind of manifests itself.
As we sit here today, and early on you mentioned, of course, that the rate was in the $1,400, $1,500. Today, I mean, an $895 was a high bid according to that call. Where do you see in the next 2 years? Let's go. I don't want to go too terribly far out there because it's just crapshoot with that. Where do you see, though, the photo booth business to be is it something that's still going to be profitable to add on to someone's business? Or?
Well, I think that, yes, I definitely think it will, because even as the price has been driven down because of competition, so has the entry level price. So you don't have to spend as much nowadays because the technology has gotten so much better and less expensive and everything else. So you can get in the door for a lot less than you could 12 years ago. And so you don't have to book it for $1,400 10 times to make it profitable. So yeah, I definitely still think it's getting to the point of oversaturation, but I think it still is worth it, especially if you already have, whether it's a DJ company or a successful company where you're bringing leads in, then this is just something that you offer to those current leads,
Going back to that early days, you had a photo booth attendant, operator, what have you. Compare the person that you guys had to hire and you had in place then to what you have to have today. Are you still having the same level, or have you, like the DJ world, where we've had to up our game on the entertainment side?
Well, from day one, and I guess this goes back to the fact that we're a DJ company, we've always focused on personality. From day one, I insisted that our photo booth attendants be an extension of the entertainers. I didn't just want a technician there. I wanted somebody who made it fun, who had fun in the booth, who got the people in the booth to have fun. So that's always been. But to me, the biggest thing is, first of all, we can do it with one person and not two, because back in the day, the setups were so elaborate and they took so long and everything else that we used two people. And we even have some of our setups are so portable that we have females who work by themselves, and they were able to bring everything in practically and set it up and everything else. So that's where things have changed. It's just become so much more easy to set up and transport.
So the entertainment side, you've had that from the beginning. That was a big focus with you? Yeah,
that was something always for me, because I saw photo booths as an extension of the entertainment. Mm-hmm. I mean, I kind of insist on that with everybody who works for me. Like, we have lighting techs who go out. I want them to have fun and clap their hands and look like they're into the party. And I see this with some DJs where they have the main guy who's like into it and having fun, and then he's got like 3 bouncers next to him. I'm like, what are you, security? Like, I'll tell some guys that if I have a lighting tech who looks like he's not into it, I'll smack him and I'll go, dude, I don't need a bouncer. Like, have fun, get into this party. So I think that's always just been my philosophy from day one. Smile, sing along, let's have some fun,
So with your staff, your DJ staff, since you do a lot of speaking and such with training of DJ staff, and you've got a progression to going from assistants and then the DJ and then eventually working to MC. when it came to the photo booth side of it, have you taken some of your photo booth operators and worked them, and have they changed and moved over into the DJ side? Because
yeah,
of that,
and back and forth, really.
Okay.
We have a number of people on staff who do multiple jobs. We have some people who just do photo booth, but every once in a while, the photo booth will have a busier day than the DJ company. So some of our assistants on the DJ end might be manning a photo booth this weekend or vice versa. So yeah, we've kind of got a fluid system set up with our staff where, I've got a couple people on staff and they'll even help with the video division from time to time. So like I'll see one of my guys, Nick, on a party and I'll be like, Nick, what do you do? Oh, you're doing the photo booth today. Oh, you got a video camera today. You know what I mean? And I think that's great. I think it's awesome to have, in sports, most teams you've got your third baseman and your second baseman, and then you got a utility guy who can, he can fill in for the third base guy, he can fill in for the short. I think that's important to have when you've got a pretty big staff,
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I've wondered about that when I was thinking about that. It's like, I know you've got such a very specific progression of how you've handled staff. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
And at the utility player.
Yeah. I think of them like that too. I think of some of them. And let's face it, if you know enough about sports, sometimes the utility player can be the MVP. Yeah. He can fill in at a moment's notice in any position. And it's good to have people like that on staff.
That it would be.
Yeah.
For somebody who's wanting to get into it today, you obviously, when you first started, you were looking at the numbers and such. As if a person were going to get into today, what would be the first thing you'd have them thinking about in order to make that decision?
Well, are we talking about somebody who already owns a wedding
in a wedding related business?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because I wouldn't know the first thing if you just wanted to start a photo booth company today and you had no experience in the DJ business or any wedding entertainment field, I wouldn't know where to start. But if you already have an influx of leads coming in, and that you're booking, whether you're an entertainer or a photographer or anything, and even I would say this even for banquet halls, just ask your current clients, hey, if we offered a photo booth for X amount of dollars, would you be interested? And get a sense of it. And if you get a number of people that say yes, then you've got, okay, if I could just buy this and offer it today and book it 10 times in the future immediately, then it's got to be worth it. So I think that's the best way to go, is just kind of grill your staff. Joe Bunn did that recently with video screens. He basically just showed a bunch of his clients a DJ setup with 2 screens. He said, hey, if I could offer this to you, would you take it? And he got nothing but no's. So he was like, well, I'm not buying a bunch of, flat screen TVs. So I think that's a great way to do it. Just kind of, ask your current people.
And of course, you mentioned earlier the Jeffrey Craig idea that you sell it and then you purchase the unit down the road as his philosophy.
Well, yeah, especially if you have somebody in your market who you can sub this job out to, then book it. And even if you only book 2 in the future, and so then you don't bother jumping in and buying one, and then you sub out those 2, and let's face it, maybe you break even on those 2, then it was no harm, no foul. But if you do that and then you wind up booking a dozen, like we did when we tested it, then we were like, well, let's buy it. Now we've got 12 on the books coming up, and that's one of the advantages of the wedding industry, is that there are very few last minute bookings.
Yep.
Usually, like I was just before we got on the phone, I was looking at my calendar for 2020. Me personally, like my 2020 calendar is almost booked up. That's in one regard, it's frightening because you're like, if I didn't block off time yet, then I ain't getting it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, thankfully, Kelly and I know where we're going on vacation next year. So I blocked off that time. So I've got the dates that I need blocked off. But that's the frightening thing about our industry. If you get popular enough, you're going to have your dates filled in. But the great part is I can pretty much look at 2020 and know what my income is going to be, what my calendar is going to look like. And so you can do that. You can offer something like a photo booth to your 2020 clients. And if you get a dozen bookings, you got plenty of time now. Go out, do your research, invest in one, train your people, and add it,
Yeah. Good advice and good tips here, Mike. We're gonna wrap things up here for those of you who are watching us on PBNTV. On Wednesday night, we will be back, and we're going to be talking every Wednesday night. We do kind of a gear and talking to some of the sponsors and such that will be at Photo Booth Expo 2020. So Wednesday night at 9:00 Eastern, we'll be going live once again on our channels, and you can catch us here. And then on Monday nights, we do kind of a little gear educational thing. And Mike, I want to thank you for being on with me tonight.
This is week 2, you said?
This is week 2. Yeah,
I'm honored.
Yeah,
thank you for having me on so early. That's awesome.
Well, thank you very much. And gang, we'll catch you on Wednesday night on a photo booth. And the DJ side, we'll be back here at the top of the hour with our next show. We'll be talking about how to get your business ready for 2020. Bye-bye.